Yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. A quick bit about my background. I'm an HR lifer, having been for most of my career on the consulting side. So I joined a reward consultancy whilst at university in 2004. And I enjoyed university so much that I had a child by the time I was doing my finals. So that was quite a draw to stay within HR. And I soon realized that it was a very fulfilling career choice, and B, it's very hard to get anyone killed in HR. So I've been very happy. I've been very happy in a low risk environment as well. So from there, I've gone on to Aon and McLagan, and I've spent time with Mercer as well, and joined the bank in January. So you're going to see a lot of these at this conference. And I think, like all organisations, we're at a certain point in this journey. I talked during the intro about the work that we've done to consolidate our capability around, getting our reporting capability up to scratch, building it out, being able to serve 60,000 users globally, with real-time, clean, high-quality data. I'm going to let you in on a secret. At the end of this maturity curve, Valhalla is not waiting for you. There is another maturity curve, and with a new function, we've been working with a company. I'm going to do my first plug actually. We've been working with Peak Indicators to build a data science environment where we can migrate our core data set. We can put R and Python to work, do the machine learning piece, which I'm not really going to be talking about today, because we're building that environment and it's not live yet. So we're on this journey, and the challenge over the last few months has been to announce our presence and get stuff out the door that is still impactful, using the talent and the great people that we have working for us without that environment being online. So that's a little bit about what I want to talk about today. So I think the maturity curve will, it started with the abacus and it will end with the singularity. So we're all going to be doing this and making some significant investments on the way. So I suppose that journey aside, what can we do right now? Perhaps that isn't dependent on those big structural changes, those big investment initiatives, the data warehousing, the data lake developments. What can we do that isn't dependent on that can still create impact, as long as you have a couple of good developers on your side? So, I did geography at university. I'm a self-taught programmer, but I'm a big advocate of getting, within HR departments, getting some developers, getting some digital skills at the graduate level. I think it's notoriously difficult to recruit in this space. Everybody needs workforce analytics skills. Everybody needs people who can write some Python or do some data science or do some R or rationalize a huge data set or automate a process. Everybody needs the program managers in this space. And the market for talent has adjusted such that there are a lot of great graduates coming through the system. So I'm going to talk about 3 projects now that, if you were to hire some grads who were bright, who had maybe they're fresh out of university, maybe they have a couple of years under their belts, and they have some Python and maybe some web developer or some Java skills. So I'm going to talk about 3 projects that you could give them that we have successfully done in the last 3 years since I joined in January at HSBC, that have gained traction, helped to announce our presence, help set up our service at this quite big and sometimes intimidating organisation. First of all, tapping new sources of people data. If we go back, this aspirational view is great. It's very useful to try and align your direction and set your aspirations and set your sights. In practice, I think there's two main threats to this. First of all, you may be at a smaller company, you may feel under-resourced, you may be running the whole department. You may feel that there's so much day to day that how can you be doing this longer term build activity when there's so much tactical work flying into your inbox, coming across your desk, coming through your phone all the time. That's group one. Group two, which I would place myself in, and my role is the organization's huge. There's so much data. There are multiple data warehouses that have grown organically through big separate investment exercises that happened 10 years ago. You have a large legacy warehouse. Dataset A does not join to dataset B, and so you are held back. You're stuck in the weeds, cleaning, validating, joining data, and that is the other threat to this journey as well. The third one is getting the talent and the program managers that can move you along in this space. And as I said, there's a correction happening, but I think there's a bit of a shortage and a lot of demand at the moment. Let's grow our own skills. What can we do with our graduate hire, our high value, high talent, energetic graduate hire that we've brought onto our team that has some Python? In the first month, we started to, we got on the phone to Glassdoor and we got a key for their API, which is free. And with 50 lines of code, we were able to start requesting data from the Glassdoor platform. And we can set a list of companies that we want to request data for, and they will send us a structured piece of data called a JSON back containing these fields for HSBC and any other company that we ask for. So we want to know what our CEO approval is doing on a completely external data set. We don't pay a penny to look after Glassdoor's data set. They have tens of thousands of reviews. Think of the investment and the exercise that would have to be done internally to get that kind of data, to get that kind of candid, honest feedback from your employees. Crucially as well, Glassdoor has a lot of leavers who are giving data on you as well. And they're very important. They're out in the market discussing your company, and they will often speak much more candidly about what you need to be getting right versus the people that are still internal and playing the game within the company. So, luckily, we came out with a great story. Our new CEO came in last March 18, and has publicly set an agenda about creating the healthiest human system, trying to prioritize integrity, behavior, personal conduct in order to manage the operational risk at the bank, the reputational risk about scandals and the whole media circus that banks and other organizations have been exposed to over the past decade and beyond. So, creating the healthiest human system, John has implemented policies to push this agenda, and there's been quite a lot written about it. But we were able to, using a data set that we pulled for July 18 and March 19, which was just before we published the paper, we were able to demonstrate that we were tracking positively on all of these metrics. And so the win here was with this was literally 50 lines of code and a phone call to Glassdoor. And this is graduate level Python and perhaps a week's work getting this kind of data set. And we were able to get this in front of the CEO and give him a completely original viewpoint that his policy and this ambitious policy agenda that had frankly drawn some criticism from the traditional banking set that don't feel that culture is commercial. And I know that we've had other speakers discussing that today as well. We were able to show him that the agenda was gaining traction. We were also able to compare our performance on all of these metrics with our published competitors. So these are our share price peers that we publish in our annual report. Great thing about Glassdoor as well, I can show you all of this. I can't show you anything from HSBC because I would get fired. So this is all in the public domain, this data, so we can sing and shout about it all we want. So we were able to show here that we're tracking at least at median for all of these metrics. We can see the areas where we need to put effort. We want to be tracking above median. Obviously, we want to be as high as possible across the board. We can see where we need to focus our efforts for this human system agenda. we can see that we are gaining traction, and we can see that there is a positive story for the work that's been done to date. Number one. Other APIs are available. There are literally hundreds. A lot of them are paid for, some of them aren't. Some of them you can request 10 times in a minute, and then it will shut you down. So there's a lot, and you can even go and you can, with perhaps 3 to 5 years graduate experience, manually read data from websites and turn that into actionable content as well. Job boards. Postcodes. If we've got anyone in HR here who, with postcodes.io, you can send it to postcodes, the postcode of your employee. I would recommend trimming the last 3 pieces so that their exact location remains anonymous if you're sending it over the internet. Send their postcode, send your HQ's postcode or their place of work's postcode. Then you can do a very simple, it's the first time I've used Pythagoras at work. It was great. You can just draw, you can calculate the distance between those two postcode points using the latitude and longitude. You know how far they are from work. Now, go and have a look at who among your star performers have left in the last 2 years and compare that with their distance from their workplace. And then go and push flexible working arrangements for your existing star performers that are living very far from work. Again, this is graduate level Python, free data available on the internet, and something that you can do where you can where you can point at the end of it and say that you've generated an impact using this talent. This is one of my specialist areas, and we're doing, and it is, I think Andrew Marritt's, I'm not sure if he's in the room, but it is NLP, the ability to process what people are writing and turn that messy written data into structured, actionable data. It is rocket science, actually. It is rocket science, to be honest. However, there are baseline packages available for free in Python that can get you started very quickly with a graduate developer and 2 to 3 years experience. I'm talking about the Natural Language Toolkit and 2 other packages called TextBlob and GenSim. Get a graduate developer, get them to download these packages, and then you can start to move from. We've done some. This is by far and away the most exciting part of my job at the moment, actually, because we have so many feedback processes. We have thousands of people talking about the year-end process, how their experience was with the year-end process. We have thousands of people talking to us through the engagement survey, and they go through and they fill out Likert scales. They say, this is from a web design survey, but they will give you something on a 5-point scale, which says how they feel on a topic. Who's deciding what the questions are, first of all? Because if you set the questions, they are the topics on which you're going to receive the answers. And when you have a very disgruntled employee who goes and fills out the survey, there's a text box waiting for them at the end of the survey, and then they vent. They will write an essay. That is where the gold is, and that is what we've been overlooking for years and years. And with 2 to 3 years of a graduate with some Python, these 3 packages, you can start yourself on the journey, and then once you've proven the business value, you can call Andrew Marritt or someone like that, and then get some proper investment into building this. Because if you have 10,000 people that say this, you've asked a question, does my website have a good selection of images? You've gathered 10,000 pieces of feedback, and it's negative. The feedback is negative. The question is, do we have a good selection of images? It's almost identified the problem. Perhaps the problem is the resolution of the images. So someone writes this. With these packages, you can turn 10,000 comments along these lines into some actionable data that you can report. Okay, we missed the point with this question. Actually, it's the resolution of the images. And then, if someone's writing this, then you really know that is your first #1 agenda item. So this has really helped us move beyond. And to be honest with you, I think I really can't see, as this develops and this embeds, this technology embeds, this capability embeds. Forget chatbots. This is one-way conversation. This is about listening. I don't see the merit in getting the structured data to start with. I think actually we need to move to a listening, natural language-based system whereby people can raise exactly what their gripe is without having the agenda set for them centrally. Take this slide, give it to your grad, and they can do this for you. Give them you'll have a spread. Maybe you have a spreadsheet with 1,000 comments that have been gathered and have been sitting gathering dust on a file share somewhere that is on a certain topic. Get the comments, put it through this process. With TextBlob, you can extract noun phrases. So we, for one of our feedback processes, we had 6,000 negative comments. What are we doing wrong? 5,000 positive comments. What are we getting right? We don't even need to work out whether people are saying, good or bad things, because they're in two separate columns, right? We don't need to do the sentiment analysis. All we need to do is extract the topics that they're discussing. So the job, by some clever question design, well, very simple question design, you don't even need to look at the sentiment, because and so with TextBlob, you can just it sits upon an English language model. And it will extract the noun phrases, the significant nouns and groups of nouns that people are discussing. So maybe you'll get 10,000 different nouns. You can put that through a taxonomy. Okay, these 20 nouns are going to go in the communication space. These 20 nouns, they're all talking about their variable pay. These are the people talking about bonus. These are the people talking about salary. Right, so you've got all those. You've joined it onto a taxonomy, then join it onto your employee framework. So you know that, okay, well, why are 90% of people in this business area saying negative stuff about their variable pay versus 10% of people in this area of the business? And then suddenly you're blowing people's minds, and you haven't even had to issue a survey. You've just got them to write stuff. Stick it in Tableau. Other visualization tools are available. Finally, this is the third area. And probably the most advanced. I think you need two people to do this. You need someone with some web and some Java, and you need someone with, this is using the D3 library. D3 is free. It's Tableau-like or ClickView-like, but it's based in Java, and it can do everything that those other products can do, and you don't have to spend £1,000 a seat. So this next, we have some representatives from Mercer here, and what we've been able to build, is something based on their thought leadership in the internal labour market area. So using D3. We've been able to show flows of people. This is from our requirement set, because there's some really interesting stuff, but I can't show you it. It's really frustrating. So these are from the requirements that we set, but showing the flow of people through the organization. So if this is the hierarchy, these are the people joining, these are the people leaving from inside and outside of the bank, showing the flow of older people, older versus young, male versus female, ethnicity. You can then see how flows into and out of the organization are putting you on a trajectory towards balance, diversity, and inclusion, or away from it. So we've been able to connect this directly to our data set and start to, in real time, in an animated fashion. And you can't really do this in Tableau because it's a very specific flow-based visualization, which is something that's better animated as well and easier to communicate animated. And so we've been able to generate some great impact. We've also put performance on here, so you can see the journey over time of high performers. Perhaps you have high performers getting promoted through 3 levels, and then you can suddenly see that there's a ceiling for high performers, women, other groups, and they're leaving your bank. And by cutting by different business areas, you can then locate where you need to focus your progressive policies in order to improve the profile of the bank. I haven't been looking at my watch actually, so I'm not sure how we're tracking for time. But there were the 3 things that that I wanted to go through. And I think just in summary, with the ability to set some requirements and with some lower cost, high potential hires straight out of university, a hungry grad. A lot of them want to get out of science and do something more connected to people as well. They want to do something more humanity-based. They've gone through a computer science degree. Perhaps they've gone into the workplace and worked for a chemicals company, in the businesses, and they want to put those skills to work, and they want to work, but they want to do something tangible that has a people-based result. There is demand, and there is that carrot to attract these really high potential people and give them some good work to do and get them to, in their first few months, generate genuine impact at the bank with positive strategic effects. Thank you.
Question for you. Have you been able to tie Glassdoor, or do you have any long-term strategy for taking things like Glassdoor, public data, and tying it into your own people data? Is there a longer-term strategy for that?
It's difficult. So we have a relationship with Glassdoor that we need to build on. They're really going to disrupt this space. I mean, we had 12,000 reviews for the company on there, and that is their IP. They will give us those high-level fields which I showed you. They have so many reviews as well that you can navigate through the browser. We want that information. Their commercial offering isn't yet mature. So I think that's part of their long-term vision. But again, I think it's a question of watch this space. But definitely that would be the dream. The alternative to that is to start to build the internal channels to gather that information effectively, perhaps by developing the NLP story a bit more.
Hi, Matt. Great presentation, so thank you.
Thank you.
Particularly around Glassdoor, I think it's a topic that everyone's really interested in, and a couple of clients that we work with have highlighted that the danger of it is that it can really drive the wrong behaviours from executives because they're concerned with perceptions of themselves rather than broader challenges within the organisation. Have you encountered that, and if so, how have you tackled it?
Good question. The popularity contest problem it's not unique to Glassdoor, and you're right, it can feed into it. We put there was in this case there was a positive story, and I think it made those questions, and it also chimed with our strategy. So it made those questions. It didn't bring them forwards. But it did go I wrote a paper. I wrote a one-pager paper on it, and we put it through our comms department. And they consciously distanced it from the healthiest human system agenda, which I thought was interesting, because what I was saying is look at this great way of measuring system health, and what they were saying was no, we are defining how we are measuring system health. We need this information chimes with that strategy, and so let's celebrate the fact that we're improving here. We didn't. Your question wasn't posed explicitly enough, commonly enough during this process for me to answer that question completely. It's a really interesting question. It's a really interesting issue. Senior management, we track quite low for senior management, and I think that's actually, in our case, that's also a genuine issue. And I would, my sense 4 months in, candidly, is that if we were to, if management were to improve, to focus on improving that rating, it would actually be a positive for the bank. I think the reasons that they are the reasons that perhaps popularity is lower are reasons that in our case would be positive things to address rather than negative ones. Thanks.
Hopefully this is the last Glassdoor question. how did you communicate about it? Because potentially when you take a data source like Glassdoor, where you cannot verify those people are employees, anybody can go in and write anything. Like, how do you use that effectively or weight it effectively when you look at the insights?
Yes. So we caveated, first of all, but we also we worked closely with our head of employee insights, and we compared it with, there is a snapshot process where twice a year we survey everyone in the organization. And we did a QA exercise on the internally collected data, which didn't exactly translate. Obviously, they're separate processes, the directional piece did chime, and it was signed off by the people in the organisation with the best knowledge of the areas that we were reporting on. Because they felt that it was an accurate representation given the data and their professional experience of the bank. There are checks that Glassdoor put in place to try and verify. Obviously it's imperfect. I think the model with all of this stuff is that at a high enough volume, the dirty data comes out in the wash. If you've got 5% rogues in there, the message that you will see overall is still representative.
Great presentation, thank you. One question, I don't know if I understand it correctly. You said you use Tableau. Is that correct? How you deploy the information you get in Tableau? I mean, who's the people who see it? Is the senior manager or are the HRBPs? Or?
So yeah, I love Tableau. It's prohibitively expensive to use at scale. And it's designed, and the best way to use it is to have the recipient of the insight in the room. And the main advantage of it, and I think some of the vendors here will have similar solutions as well. The advantage of it with Tableau is you show them a live dashboard and you set your story up. If they have a question and you're showing them a deck, you have to go away and work on it and then come back to them a week later with the question answered, and then they have another question. Whereas with Tableau, you can respond in real time because you have the license and you're showing it to them. If you have Tableau Desktop, which costs £1,000 for a seat, you can then install Tableau Reader, which has it's a bit like it's an Adobe Reader versus Adobe Acrobat model, where you can build the dashboard and then you can give the dashboard to the recipients. However, my experience is that your time-pressed senior folk, they need the narrative building for them. So the best users of the Tableau Reader are actually people on your team who can drill into the data, do the storytelling, and then get inevitably perhaps some static content in front of the execs. I love Tableau. If you spend $250,000, you can get a Tableau server set up and then start to embed those dashboards in websites and do all of that stuff that you could do with D3 for free on day one with some clever, with admittedly a lot more work and a lot of skills in Java.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, Matt, very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the questions. They're great.
Thank you. Join me in giving a round of applause.